Hi everyone, Connor here. In this video I want to show you how I've painted my Stormcast Eternals. The style I went for is an ancient bronze, quite inspired by the Spartans. So old bronze, reds, some other highlights in there as well. The best place to start with this is always priming. I've gone for a brown primer. It doesn't matter what colour you go for. The next step, though it may seem strange, is actually a light blue. I've gone for Ray Gun Glow by two thin coats, and what we'll want to do here is apply it all over the model. You could be quite messy in this step. We are just creating a foundation layer. Once that's been applied and it's been left to dry, we can move on to the next step, dry brushing. For this I've used Rune Lord Brass by Citadel. If you don't know how to dry brush, it's simply as getting some paint on the brush, wiping most of it away onto a kitchen towel, something along those lines, and then just swiping it over the model. With this step we can be quite heavy, covering most of what we have done, but what you'll notice is some of the blue will be left behind to indicate oxidization. Once that's dry, we can then go on to a wash. With this, I like to use the Skeleton Horde contrast paint. I find the pigments are not too strong, so I will treat it as a wash, and I will go over all of the armour, just not letting it pool. If it does, dry your brush, wick it away a little bit, and then you can move on to the next bit. But after this step, we will need to let it completely dry. While we wait for that to dry, let's have a quick brew. Can't forget to give Atlas a little bit of fuss at the same time. Now that it's all dry, we can then move on to the weathering of the armour. For this, I like to use Nihilic Oxide by Citadel. It's not a typical paint, and all we'll be doing is mainly focusing on the joins in the armour and the places where you would normally see strong oxidisation. But this will be applied all over the model. With that complete, we can now move on to the silver, which will include the scales around his waist and weapon details. And now the black details, which is the belt, the main body of the weapon. And for the red, it'll be the plume on his head and the handle of the weapon itself. Next, I'm going to be applying a highlight to the plume and the weapon handle, just applying to the highest points where it would catch light. Once that's dry, I'm going to be applying a wash of Nuln oil specifically to the silver parts and the red of the handle. One of the downsides to Citadel pots is sometimes just managing to keep them open. While we're on the step of washes, just on the plume itself, I'm going to be applying some bloodletter glaze. I've had this for years. Try not to use it too often. They don't make it anymore. But what that'll do, it'll just bring out the vibrancy of the plume itself. And with that looking the way it does, we can move on to the next step. The base. In this tub I have some basing materials. It's essentially just some gravel which I have ground down and some really fine flock. So what I'll do here, I'll apply a liberal amount of super glue to the base itself. Trying not to get too close to my face, it's incredibly strong stuff. Once that's been liberally applied, what I'll do, I'll just dunk it into the tub, trying to get as much on the base as possible. I think some off the sides. Any little gaps, I'll just sprinkle a little bit of the really fine grit all over it, shaking off the excess as you go. And leave that to fully dry. Once that's fully dry, we can then prime the base. Again, I'm using the brown, which gives me a fantastic base layer. I'm then going to be using Citadel's Shavity Bone to just lightly dry brush over the top, picking out the highlights. The downside to dry brushing this is it does sometimes knock off some of the gravel, but the way I see it, it's just adding a bit of colour difference. It's not a bad thing. Once that's all dry, we can then assemble the Mini onto the base. I use corks quite regularly while I'm painting models. It gives you a nice handle so you can paint the model, and it means you can then do the base separately. Once it's all dry, we'll move on to one of the final steps of just adding some grass tufts to the base. The ones I apply are a burnt red, adding a nice little bit of interest. So just applying a little bit of super glue to where you want it. The very last thing I'll do, just apply neat black all the way around the edge of the base. Just tidy it all up. The final thing I'll do after this, I'll actually apply a matte varnish just to seal it all in and just to knock back some of that shine. But I'll do that off camera. And there we have it. The model is complete. Join as friends in the display case. Let me know down below what you thought of the paint scheme, if there's anything you would have done differently. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video.